To be honest, do I even need to make this video? He's been in basically every video so far, right? Well, I guess it's worth giving him his own video to talk about just why that is. The final regular gacha blade Dagas is one of the S-tier blades in the game because despite his selfish nature, he actually has some of the best support in the entire game. Even outside of that, he is also a fairly strong blade in his own right if you want to use him yourself. However, Dagas comes with a catch. He only becomes this strong after you complete his quest and unlock his second affinity chart. The Dagas you initially pull from a core crystal is insanely weak with some of the worst damage ratios ever, a terrible stat mod, and only a single aux core slot, and all of his skills are nerfed. Make sure you complete his quest before you try to use him. In this video we're going to be discussing post-quest Dagas, what makes him so good, all of his strengths and weaknesses, and seeing how to use him most effectively. If you enjoy all of these guides, then please make sure to subscribe to the channel because it does help me out so much. Let's get into it. So Dagas is a Great Axe type weapon. This means he has a very high auto attack stat of nearly 1700 with the Tachyon core chip, along with a pretty high critical hit rate that can reach up to 40% with the Moon Matter core chip, which is a pretty high number. His block rate isn't that great as you might expect, but that shouldn't be a major concern for Dagas. His defense stats are 15% physical and 15% ether, which isn't too bad for an attack class blade, as 15% damage reduction can certainly be helpful. His strength mod, even on his strong chart, is only a 10% strength mod, so nothing too great there, and his cooldown is 3, meaning it's pretty poor, and if you want to swap off of him, you won't be able to use him as much. Normally not a major concern, but more important for Dagas since he's a blade who is great when active often. Let's take a look at his affinity chart. Dagas' first skill is Gold Effect. This will increase enemy gold drop rate by 60% at level 1 and 100% at level 5. This skill has literally zero combat power at all, so in that respect it is useless. I guess getting more money is nice if you need money, but as far as combat skill, yeah, it does nothing for Dagas and there isn't really much to say. Maybe it's good if you team him up with Shiva, but otherwise, no. Fortunately, his other two skills are enough. Dagas' second skill is Regal Presence. This skill will increase blade combo damage by 20% at level 1, rising up to 50% at level 5. Now this is a slightly weaker than Pyre's version of this skill, but Dagas is a bit stronger when it comes to damage besides that, so he can be a great blade to really take advantage of a skill like this since he's a fire blade and has access to all of those powerful damage over time effects. Dagas can absolutely be one of the best blades to set those up, and with his damage can take down enemies very quickly should you want to use him for that. Blade combo damage boost can be very useful for damage over time based blades, but probably not going to be that great otherwise. Ironically enough, Dagas doesn't really get used for this skill, and it's more a forgotten part of his kit. Why is that? Well, that's because his final skill is by far the best skill in the entire game. This skill is so good, I once made an entire video just on this skill. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Kaiser's Own. This will increase all damage and area of effect of attacks by 80% at level 1 and 120% at level 5 when Dagas is at max affinity, and it affects the entire party. This skill is absolutely insanely broken and saves more time in challenge mode than any other skill in the game. More than Overdrive, more than any of Fiora's skills, it is just insane. For one, this skill is a 120% damage increase to everyone in the party. The second highest party-wide increase skill is Agat's 50%. This is a huge boost over that, and an effective 360% damage increase just from one skill, and this is on a non-DLC blade too. It can boost the damage of blades who normally wouldn't have that much damage very effectively, and acts as a great damage increase for virtually any blade to take advantage of. The damage increase alone already makes Dagas one of the best party support blades, but the underlooked and arguably even more broken part of this skill is the area of effect increase. Moves that have any area of effect now have their range more than doubled thanks to this skill, and that makes it insanely broken in multi-enemy fights as clearing out enemies becomes much easier. It's insanely good in challenge mode for this reason, and one of the reasons Dagas is the most used blade in challenge mode. I could talk about this skill all day, and I'll be sure to talk about it a bit later, so for now, let's move on to his specials. Dagas' level 1 special is Flame Crown. This is a physical, single-hit special with a pretty average damage ratio of 300 at level 1, 460 at level 5, and 480 at max affinity. Unless, of course, you have the bad Dagas, in which case this is a lot less than 200, which is by far the worst in the game. Don't use bad Dagas. Dagas will slowly walk towards the enemy and hit them a single time in what is one of the most underwhelming specials ever, with the bonus effect of increasing damage to aquatic enemies, which is not a super common enemy type anyway. I'd say this is easily his worst special overall and not worth using much. Dagas' level 2 special is Tyrant Crush. Now this is more like it. This is a 3-hit physical special of pretty average speed, but a much better damage ratio this time around of 400 level 1, 600 level 5, and 638 at max affinity. It also has a super good bonus effect of increasing critical damage by 85%, so if you can get those critical hits, this special will hurt a lot. It doesn't offer anything much besides damage, but it's definitely a better option to do damage than its level 1, so that's at least one major positive for it, and makes it one of his better specials. Dagas' level 3 special is Kaiser Flare. This is an ether special that has 2 hits and has a bit of an area of effect on it. Finally, because level 1 and 2 did not, which is odd since he has Kaiser Zone, but that's alright. This special has a damage ratio of 500 at level 1, 700 at level 5, and 748 at max affinity, which is pretty average overall, but it does come with a 25% critical hit modifier, which can be nice for getting more crits. The bonus effect is increasing damage when under 30% health, which is not very reliable and not exactly a position you'd want to be in with Dagas, considering him being healthy as possible is best for the team. Not a big fan of this special overall because of that. Dagas' level 4 special is Blazing Conquest. This special is very good overall. It has a damage ratio of 1100, which is pretty high, a 40% critical hit mod, and the bonus effect of increasing damage to toppled enemies, which is super good for this level 4 in particular, combined with his blade combo boosting damage. You can set up some very powerful fusion combos with this special thanks to it freezing topple, and doing more damage, which is super beneficial for Dagas as a whole. I think this special is probably one of the best options to do damage himself when he isn't just acting as support for the party, as it can do a lot to the enemy. Definitely a solid special overall. As usual, if you have weak Dagas, all of his specials have much worse damage ratios and will do pitiful damage because weak Dagas sucks, so keep that in mind. For setup, I am running the Tachyon chip because it has the critical damage bonus effect for axes, which is super useful for doing as much damage as possible, and more than makes up for the drop in critical hit rate from Moon Matter. For Ox cores, as a support blade, Dagas is one of the best options for Hunter's chemistry, but if you're using Dagas on player control, he will always appreciate more damage to hurt the enemy. This means stuff like Affinity Max Attack and Outdoor Attack. He can also benefit from Blade Combo Up and Fusion Combo Up if you want to do more damage over time stuff with him, and Night Vision is great when fighting the very dangerous higher agility enemies in challenge mode as well. For accessories, Crimson Headband is fantastic for getting even more critical damage and boosting all of his added damage multipliers like Kaiser Zone. Noise Dampener is also great because axes can put out huge art damage, especially on someone like Zeke, and this is another independent multiplier to make that happen. Something like Avant-Garde Metal could be nice in the last slot so Dagas remains alive, since having him alive and at max affinity is super helpful for the entire party, but for just some more damage, Divine Van Burst works as well. If Dagas is purely acting as a supportive blade, a burst symbol, critical symbol, or rainbow belt could be good options to consider also. Since we're using Dagas offensively, Art Recharge is fantastic for doing as much damage as possible with axes, so that's what we're going to stick to. With all that done, let's take a look at how to use Dagas practically. So since Kaiser Zone normally takes the spotlight, first I want to show off more of his damage over time potential, and then just briefly discuss the power of Kaiser Zone as we go along. So, since Dagas has the blade combo damage boost, 60% on his skill tree, he can actually hit some very powerful damage over time effects, especially if you team him up with a good Earth Blade. Someone like Tor or something can be very useful to accomplish that, but if you team him up with Nim, it can be even better since she has the fusion combo damage bonus on her own skill tree. But I just want to show off the power of his level 4, which I already said was really good. You get the increased damage to toppled. If you apply this stone on top of the topple right before you do your level 4, you can get a massive amount of damage on this volcano, which has the highest damage over time effect in the entire game, by the way. At 10% of the blade combo damage dealt, just doing the damage over time effect multiplied by the fusion combo bonus. So you're going to see right here, from that combo, we're doing nearly over 360,000 damage just from that combo that's just ticking every couple seconds on this enemy, and he's going down very fast because of it. And that was with no chain attack, that was just pure Dagas damage. And I'm going to show that off again in just a second on the True Rosa, but I just want to show off Dagas' damage in general first. Like, you can just see, he has a ton of damage. He doesn't normally get used specifically for his own damage, but he's not that far off from, like, Zenobia as far as just general axe damage, and he's beating Gorg and Agate, so he can hit some really powerful damage numbers just generally with everything you've got going for him. Raging Charge on Topple can hit some huge damage numbers as well. And yeah, Kaiser Zone is very good in general for boosting the party damage even without the area of effect. Just because your blades that normally might not have that much damage, or even blades that do have a lot of damage, will still get a big boost out of it, because 120% applied to the entire party is a pretty significant number. And that helps you take out enemies much, much quicker, even if there's no area of effect being boosted by that. So, I'm going to show off the damage over time effect on an enemy that it actually has more of a meaningful impact on, the True Rosa here. Tyranitar can go down pretty fast in general, so it's probably not the greatest example. But against True Rosa, she has much, much more HP than normal Tyranitar, and some higher defenses as well, so I just wanted to show that off here. And you can also see with Noise Dampener, you can get the Berserker Slash spam and Raging Charge with Zeke and Dagas as well, which can also do a ton of damage just on its own. So that's another pretty positive thing as well. So here's the damage over time setup. Stone goes off on the topple, then we use our level 4, which freezes the topple for easy fusion combo setup. You can get some huge damage over time effect out of this, especially if all of your attacks crit, which is what we really ideally want here. And I don't have any Blade to Smash. You could get even better damage over time if you had a Blade to Smash. I'm at 275,000 here on True Rosa. If I could have a Blade that smashed with this, I could like double this every time I smash. Not double it every time, but increase it by the initial increase amount, which would be double it first. And eventually get to 999 damage over time effect in about 3 or 4 smashes, which would be really cool. Dagas' AoE with Berserker Slash and Raging Charge, able to take out the mini Rosas very quickly. And now it's just about keeping True Rosa comboed, and she'll go down pretty quickly from here. Pretty much no issues at all. 275,000, still decent damage over time. You can see her health bar going down pretty quickly in general, just because it's just a pretty strong effect. And with the art damage we're doing, which is also really powerful, like Raging Charge just did almost 500,000 damage there. The Berserker Slash does a lot every hit. You can get a ton of damage with this overall. And yeah, Dagas can be used for damage if you try to use him like this. It's not all about Kaiser Zone all the time, but Kaiser Zone is indeed very good, because the area of effect increase is much more meaningful than you might ever think it is. Being able to just more than double the range of your attacks can save some very significant time, especially if you're fighting multiple enemies which are really powerful, which does happen in a few challenge mode battles. And just in general, there's a lot of challenges, and not even just challenges, but just moments in Xenoblade 2 where you're fighting multiple enemies, which can be pretty powerful, and being able to hit them all and harder can be very, very beneficial. As a quick example, I want to showcase the difference here between Corvin on Zeke with Dagas active in the party compared to Dagas not being active in the party. You can see right now my Galactic Strike is just able to hit enemies pretty much from everywhere and do a lot of damage to them. We're able to clear out these phases pretty quickly. Morag has Dagas right now just for the supportive effect. She's not going to swap off of him because Morag is a blade who won't swap if there's no blade combos being used, so that's pretty beneficial in this case. So you can just see the massive range. We're able to hit those enemies very far behind us with this area of effect attack and just kind of destroy them very, very quickly here, which is super, super beneficial. So overall, this was very, very quick to take out these first 2 phases. I want to compare it to not having Dagas, just to show you the power of Kaiser Zone here. So without the AoE increase here, we're not going to be able to hit enemies nearly as hard in general, and not as far away either, and that's going to make this phase take a lot longer. Like, you're seeing right now, not only is the damage reduced, but we also don't have the area of effect just hit everything at once and just absolutely annihilate them nearly as quickly. And this is just one of the reasons Kaiser Zone is just such a ridiculously broken skill. The area of effect is just incredibly useful in pretty much every situation where there's multiple enemies, and easily makes Dagas one of the best blades in the game just based on that alone. Even if it didn't have the area of effect increase, the damage increase would already still be pretty broken in general. You can see how this is a much, much more difficult affair without having Kaiser Zone here. Like, Morag died there, I had to use my special to make sure I could keep myself healthy as well. And we're just now getting to phase 2, and the time it took us to kill both phases last time around. So you can just see right now just how powerful Kaiser Zone is and how much of a difference it makes just in general. We are not doing nearly as well this time around, sadly. But that just kind of showcases the power and the difference between having Kaiser Zone and not having Kaiser Zone, which is very, very significant overall. So that's just something to keep in mind. It is worth noting this was done on Bring Your Chaos. You can see that Rage Strike right there and everything. So that's just another benefit. Like, you could see Corvin taking out 2 phases in 40 seconds, even on Bringer Chaos, which is super, super powerful. All around, Kaiser Zone makes Dagas an S-tier blade with just that skill alone, but if you want to use him offensively on your own driver, he has some other tricks up his sleeves like damage over time, which can also make him very good, and he has some powerful damage in his own right. He's not just a one-trick supportive pony. His damage combined with his absolutely incredible ability to support can make him a very good blade overall. Good in chain attacks, good on Bringer of Chaos, good for damage over time, just good at all around, and that's one of the things that makes Dagas so important. But yeah, it's mostly just about Kaiser Zone being great. I think that's going to cover it for this video, so I hope you guys have learned something from watching this. And if you did, make sure to like the video, comment down below, tell me who you want to see next, because we got 7 blades left, all the New Game Plus blades, so I hope you are all looking forward to those. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and have a wonderful and blessed day. See you soon.